They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet 'cause they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho.
They're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Why is the camera? What happened?
Okay.
It got moved,
So,
right?
so the camera is, yeah, there's a whole thing.
Don't ask?
Yeah, don't ask, don't
Let's
tell.
shift.
The camera is like on a tripod that's right up against the wall.
Yeah.
And it keeps like doing this.
It keeps tilting.
Yeah, pretty soon everything is going to be exposed of how crappy our little studio is.
I'll tell you what it's not doing.
Jack's studio.
Make me look any younger. Any to the who. Hi, guys. Welcome to Stars in the House. I'm Seth.
And I'm James.
This is the fundraiser we've been doing for the Actors Fund ever since everything shut down. We are coming up on our 1-year anniversary.
Yes, we are. March 16th.
And we're going to have a big celebration. And last night we hit a big milestone in fundraising. James, how much did we raise for the Actors Fund?
$700,000.
Yes, Queens.
Yes.
So thank you, everybody. Hi, Jerry Mitchell. I see you clapping. Thanks, everyone, for watching and for donating. And the Actors Fund, if you don't know, helps everybody in the arts. So not just actors, but also dancers over 40. Not that it has anything to do with tonight. Everybody on stage, off stage, behind the scenes, in front of the camera, whatever you do, you can get help from the Actors Fund. Literally, just like paying your rent, paying your medical bills, paying your utilities. Go to the Actors Fund. You say, I need money, and they'll give it to you. So actorsfund.org if you need help. How can people give tonight?
You can go to starsinthehouse.com or text Fund 2020 to 56512. And then if you want one of the many people that we have tonight, we've got an amazing group of folks. You can forward it to donations.
If we want them to what?
If you want, I didn't finish the sentence. I was trying to name all the people.
What kind of giveaway?
No way I could. But we will have one of the cast members of Jerome Robbins Broadway
read your donation.
Your donation.
Dance a full split, chest to the floor.
To donations at starsinthehouse.com. Here's the thing. So that's
what are you
what's going on.
flummoxed about?
Because I'll tell you why I'm flummoxed. All right, I am not a dancer,
but
never pretended.
Amazing arches. He's one of those people like completely born to dance, no dance skill.
Okay, turn off the damn AOL over there. Yes, so which actually makes it worse.
I know.
Because Seth will show off the arches on my feet to basically every dancer who comes within 20 feet of us, and then he has to break the news that I actually have no rhythm.
The walking is difficult.
I can sing and act. I can't do anything else. But there are 3 shows I saw when I lived in LA before I moved to New York. I moved to New York in 1998, and I lived in Los Angeles, and there were 3 shows that I saw there that I wanted. They made it look so easy that I thought I could dance. So they fooled me. And then it really, most importantly, inspired me. There were 3 shows, and fortunately, on Stars in the House, they've all been here, and and some of them, like Cheetah Rivera, become friends. Kiss of the Spider Woman with Cheetah Rivera at the Amundsen Theater. I forget the name of the theater, but a chorus line with BB Newirth that was in this tiny hovel of a theater off of Hollywood Boulevard. Seeing her this close, and Jerome Robbins Broadway at the Schubert Theater. I saw it the Thursday before it closed, front row center. I had gotten it as a gift for me and for a friend. Ended up being more of a gift for me. I was so obsessed with it that I bought tickets just for myself for the Saturday matinee, the Saturday evening show. I found this today that's been in the garage, right? So I'm sure I'll be showing it off during the show. And
he's a cheapskate. If you bought that, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. And Scott Wise and Debbie Shapiro were in it. And I've only done this for Cheetah Rivera. I went on the stage door and I said, I'd really love to meet Scott Wise and Debbie Shapiro, and they let me back. Or actually, I think they came out, and then Scott had hurt his foot or something, and he brought me back. Scott's nodding, and he was just and he said, Scott, bring on Scott real fast. Scott.
Yeah.
Is your first name James?
Yeah, James Scott Wise.
And so when I introduced myself, Scott said, oh, well, my first name is James. So there you go.
There
And
you go.
It could not have been nicer. Him and Debbie, and it was just like, wow, I just saw these two people on stage give the performances of a lifetime, and they could not have been nicer to this. I don't know, I was 22 or 21, and just let me back there. It was amazing.
It was
So
a blast.
thank you, Scott.
Anytime.
What the hell happened to your foot?
Actually, that's so weird that you said I actually shattered my foot. It's funny you should say that. I actually took me out of the show. So I ended up having to go back to New York because I actually shattered, and I had to go back and get ready for another 3 months, and so that I'd be ready to do it in Japan, which we had like a couple more months to get together, and so I ended up kind of having to leave LA, which was very sad.
But I feel like you went on that night, though. Is that possible? I mean, I saw you in between shows. What's that?
Not the second act. If you saw me the night I did the first act, and right at the end of the West Side Story fight, actually it was the end of Cool, and it was right at the end of the Cool dance. And actually, thanks to the two people on either side of me, I had to grab them, and they literally picked me up and kind of dragged me off stage because I couldn't walk. My bone in my foot just totally mushed.
Well, it looked like you were in character.
Yeah, I was in a lot of pain. It's just like, yeah.
Hence Tony Award. All right, Scott, you're going to come back.
All right.
Peace out. I love the 70s. Hold on. What is with the Hugh Hefner jacket and the shades? What's happening?
Yeah, well, I thought I'd dress up for the occasion.
It's working. Okay, we'll see you in a minute.
All right, before we bring everyone else on, just for our regulars, Dr. LaPook is in transit back from the West Coast to the East Coast. So he's not going to be here tonight, which, as I said, there are so many people here from Jerome Robbins Broadway. There will be no shortage of segments and questions to be answered. And tomorrow will be the first time. I was just on like IMDb. I feel like we've done well over 300 shows, and I was checking the number of episodes. Tomorrow will be the first one. Seth has the mouse in his hand right now. Yeah. He will have no control over the show. He doesn't know whom I've invited.
It's my birthday show.
It's his birthday show. His birthday is on Sunday, but he's working. He's doing on his birthday. He's doing his concert series with Brian Stokes Mitchell. So Saturday night is when we're doing it. Carol Leaf is doing a matching donation for that night. So bring on the donations. Is tonight in honor of Jerome Robbins Broadway, and tomorrow in honor of this one. And Seth doesn't know who we've invited.
I know.
I've invited.
I'm very excited about tomorrow. So
let's just say probably should plan on being here until 10 o'clock Eastern.
I'm available. Okay, guys, it is the anniversary of Jerome Robbins Broadway opening up 1989. Let us bring up. We had the lady stars a couple months ago. Yes. So tonight is the male stars plus the male accompanist, the male assistant, the male character track, Tom Robbins, and a swing as well. So let me bring out all these clowns right now. So first, Mr. Hugh Hefner himself, James Scott Wise.
I'm back.
Still got it. The character track I was talking about, his Broadway debut, Tom Allen Robbins. Hi, Tom.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Tom.
So great to see you.
James, I'm back at 405.
I know. Right. There's so many Jerome Robbins Broadway people in 405.
That's a writing group. Oh, I forgot about that.
Tom.
The man who organized it all for me, who messaged me on Facebook, and I'm so glad he did, Mr. Robert LaFosse.
Hi. So good to see you.
So
Seth,
glad to see you.
James, thank you so much for doing this series. It's really powerful. We really love it. Thanks.
Oh, well, we love doing it, and it's so nice to hang out with Broadway people. The man who is a dancer, but whose voice I love in the show, Michael Kubala.
Hey, thank you.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
Hi, Michael. The man who sat next to Jerry Robbins, taking furious notes constantly. Please welcome Jerry Mitchell.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, you beautiful people. Hi, Seth and James. Thank you for doing this and raising so much money.
Yay!
Yeah, really.
Thank you to the people who watch. It's all people who watch who send in like $5, $20, $25, $50. So thank you, audience. Thank you, Jerry, Mr. Mitchell. The man who was not in the original cast, but he was a swing, and I'm obsessed with his stories about swinging. The hilarious Jim Borstelman.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hey. Oh boy, now we're having fun.
Look at those photos. And the man who did Jerome Robbins Broadway, and then really his career stopped after that. Please welcome Jason Alexander.
Hi,
Hey,
my
Jason.
guys. Happy early birthday, Seth.
Thank you, Chase. So what we were saying is that it's always hard when we have so many people on, because as soon as one other person talks, all the sound goes away. So we're trying to be organized tonight. So I sent a little email. I was like, can everyone tell me how they got the gig in the first place? So let's just go around in a circle. James Scott Wise, how'd you get the gig?
Oh my gosh. I was actually in rehearsal at ABT Studios, well, 890 Studios, and I was downstairs and rehearsing Carrie with Betty Buckley. So we were working on Carrie, and Jerry and Cynthia kind of came downstairs during the like a break and said, "Hey, Jerry's upstairs. He wants to meet you." I was like, "Sure." And so I ran upstairs and auditioned. It was so much fun. I was so happy to be out of the Carrie studio and just around people who were really talented and great, and a great creative staff. But it was just like, had so much fun at that audition. And Jerry was great. And I mean, everyone, it was just a fun time. Okay, cut to a few weeks later, Carrie closes after 5 shows. I get a call. I'm thinking, I have no money. We had saved nothing. And so I get a call the next day from Jerry Robbins going, "Would you like to do pre-production?"
Wow.
So from that day on, it was just like a gift to be able to then, from then on, go right into rehearsing daily for 6 months before we even did the 6-month production. So I did pre-production and production, thanks to Jerry and Cynthia just coming downstairs and grabbing me. So that's a gift.
Wow.
Jerry Mitchell, what's your version of the story? You just saw Scott Wise in an 80s Carrie outfit, and you were like, you.
Well, about a year before that, I'm getting off a plane from London. I just finished assisting Bob Avian, God bless him, who's gone, who was on your show recently, we had done Follies in London for Cameron McIntosh. And I get off the plane, and I literally go to 890 Broadway for an audition for assistance to Jerry Robbins. And I open the door, and Grover Dale is teaching cool to every Broadway dance captain and assistant who's working on Broadway.
Wow.
And there are about 45 of us in the room. And I go in and I start learning the combinations. I think we learned 3 things. Something from West Side. We learned cool. We learned, I don't remember what it was. Jerry comes in for 15 minutes, and he watches all 40 of us, says hello, says thank you, shakes our hands, leaves the room, and Grover says, "That's all for today," and we all leave. I get a phone call at home. My phone rings, and I pick it up, and it's Jerry Robbins the next day. And he says, "I'm working on this show, and I need to work on creating the choreography, and will you join me up on 62nd Street over by the old David Howard Studios? Will you join me for an hour?" And I go to this studio. He said, "I'll pay you $100." And I go to the studio, and I'm in the studio with Jerry Robbins and another older gentleman who I don't remember. It wasn't Sammy Bays, but it was like someone who was the original dance captain, and Cynthia. And the 3 of us are there, and we work for an hour watching a videotape. He called me the next day. I guess he liked me and said, "Will you come back tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah." That went on for like 16 days. And then Manny Eisenberg stepped in and said, "You need to put these guys on a contract." And he put us on a contract. And the next year basically was taking stuff however we could get it, from notes, from videos, and that was before I saw Scott. And I saw Carrie.
I remember, I just graduated college. I was 21, and everyone was talking about the Robbins Project. And I remember it being going. How long you did pre-production for a full year, Jerry?
I worked on the show for 2 years, from the beginning until opening night. And on opening night, basically when the show opened, I left with Jerry's blessing to choreograph Jekyll and Hyde at the Alley Theater, the first production with Linda Eder and Chuck Wagner.
And James Raitt conducting, right?
Yeah. This was
back in the day.
Way long. Yeah.
Back in the 80s. All right. Kubala, what the hell was your audition like?
Well, I actually went in towards the end because I tried to get an audition and my agent said, I don't know if you're going to be able to get in. So at that point, Linda Haberman was assisting, who was one of my first dance teachers. And I called her and she got me in. And that audition was very interesting because I had to audition with my ex-wife at that time. We were getting divorced, and also somebody, a girlfriend who I had left, and 2 other people. So there were 5 of us in the room, and we danced for about 2.5 hours. And I always remember Paul Gemignani. I decided I was going to be really cool and sing "Something's Coming" from West Side Story. I went for the first high note, put my hand out. It was shaking so bad I stopped it, and they all started laughing because they thought it was like funny. I guess I remember Paul laughing hysterically. But I got through the song, and then I danced for 2.5 hours, and I was driving home in my car because I was living uptown at the time, and I got a cramp in my leg so bad I had to stick my leg out the driver's side window on the West Side Highway because it was just so cramping. But then I got a call a couple of weeks later, and I got the gig. So yeah, I was really happy.
Oh my
Wow.
God! I hope it was the left leg you had out the window, not the right.
It was the right leg.
Talk privately.
Robert, what about you?
Well, at the time I was with the New York City Ballet, and I had already been working with Jerry for quite some time. And it was just one random day, he came over to me, walked straight to me from the other side of the room and said, "Do you want to be in a Broadway show?" And I said, "Well, duh, yeah. And what I got to do?" And he said, "You have to go sing." So I went and sang "Happy Birthday" to Paul Gemignani. And I think if I could recreate the look on his face was like, oh dear, what are we going to do? So the funny thing is that at one point we each got a chorus, and then slowly but surely my chorus got shorter and shorter to my only line was like, "Or 7." And that was my whole solo part.
Wait, and what song is that?
New York, New York. 7 or 8.
Gotta pick maybe 7. Okay.
But we've had on our chest, and that was it. And then 7 or 8, and then in Forum I had one line. I was like, it was hard. Anyways, the other Broadway show was when I did dance, and I got a call from Gwen Verdon say, "We've lost one of our dancers. Can you come and replace it?" My roommate used to do Gwen Verdon all the time, and I said, "Kenneth, this is not a good joke." And Gwen goes, "No, really, it's Gwen. We need you. Jimmy Dunn has hurt his thumb or something like that." So, anyway, that's my story with Broadway.
So the 3 sailors. So Bob, LaFosse, you're a sailor, and Kubala and Scott. Those are the 3.
Yeah.
Oh, let's have a little walk down memory lane for just a moment.
Hey.
This is the first.
Yeah. 8 times a week.
Nice and fast.
Such a great way to open a show. My
So
gosh.
exciting. We were watching some of those sailors that come on. Were they girls dressed as boys?
No. They were all.
They were all like size 0 boys. They're so tiny.
Well, after 6 months of rehearsing that number, you'd be tiny too.
Oh my God, they're skinny.
And
Okay.
we rehearsed that number. He created that whole number, threw one version completely out, and started over with that version.
Wow.
Wasn't it? Why? Because one was Broadway, one was from New York City Ballet or something?
Before he decided to do the version that you saw, he was trying to create a new version. And he got stuck and he got frustrated. Scott was in that. Scott was in the beginning, the very, very, very beginning. I don't know if the other guys were there yet. I know Robbie was not there yet because Robbie came in later. But
I wasn't there.
But he was trying to do a new version, and then I think he said, "Oh fuck it," and went back to the ballet and went from there.
But I think this was all done from memory, correct, Jerry? None of this was on any film.
That's right. He was doing it all from memory, and he couldn't remember what it was. He had a really hard time with things that weren't filmed, things that there wasn't a film piece, trying to put it back together.
But whenever he creates anything, there's always version A, B, and C. And what you will do sometimes is take the first 8 bars of A and then do B and then go back. The next section will be C. And it's like if he had a computer, he would have worked much better. But, with cut and paste. But there was, we did a lot of cut and paste.
Oh, man. Well, it was 44 years before he was trying to remember, right? 88 to 44.
Wow.
Holy cannoliac.
So,
All right, who's next?
so Tom, I know you as a writer. How did you get this gig?
Well, actually, I was primarily an actor at that point. I was up in Boston playing Thénardier in the first national tour of Les Mis. And I think that they had already seen about every actor in New York. And Jay Binder, God bless his heart, called me down from Boston. And I had one audition. And I waited to hear if I had a call back, and then they called and said, "No, you got the part." So I've heard so many horror stories of people that had 5 and 6 auditions and kept being called back and back. And I guess I was just one of the lucky ones.
So you had to dance on the town, dance at the gym, and what else?
Who, me?
Yeah, just kidding. No, what was your audition?
I'm a dancer who can run on the beat. That's pretty much my skill set.
Did you have to sing like a character song? What was what did he want you to do?
My song was going to be "To Life" as Laser Wolf, and at some point I've heard it blamed on Leonard Bernstein, but someone said, you don't need that number, so it got cut. And after that, I didn't really have much to sing at all. I was the lifeguard in the Max Sennett number. Laser Wolf had one word to say, and Milos Gloriosus, who just marched in Forum. So yeah, I was the character guy, but I mean, I really didn't have that much to do. But I also had Jason, and
Did you have any lines?
Shooting Seinfeld, the pilot.
Oh, you covered Jason. Oh, I see. So you were Jason's cover, and then did you have any spoken or singing lines
in the show? I had one line. It was at the very top of the show, and I was a workman across the stage at the beginning of On the Town, and someone would say, "Hey, buddy, what time it is it?" And I would say, 6 o'clock, will ya? Yeah. I wrote a whole story for everyone to know, in which I had done all my actors' work. The line, 6 o'clock, will ya? And that was my opening night gift to everyone.
I actually think it was a standout.
Hey, bud, what time? 6 o'clock, will ya?
You had that. That was my Broadway version. My first line. Very exciting.
Wow, that's crazy grammar. 6 o'clock, will ya? What? Like, where's the verb?
Okay,
well,
Jason.
I mean, I had to put a lot of work into that. Figuring out why did I have such an attitude?
Jason, Seth and I were talking last night when we were talking about tonight's show, and we were like, Jason Alexander began the decade of the 80s with Stephen Sondheim, in the middle, Kander and Ebb with The Rink, and then you end it with this? What an incredible decade.
And then it all went downhill.
No, dear. You just work with the greatest, but it's interesting that Jerry Robbins didn't want to job in some famous Hollywood actor to be the leader. How did he decide on you?
Right.
First seeing you all. It is such a joy. I just have to say that because we only
Awesome.
typed it in the chat. I was one of the last ones to come aboard. I was right towards the end. Manny Eisenberg. I had worked for Man, and I had done a little bit of comedic writing. Sort of that everybody enjoyed during that production. So Manny fancied me for whatever reason, a writer. Called me up and said, Jerome Robbins is doing a review of his great theater dances, and you're going to write your own part. And I went, no, I don't think so, because it sounds like a Tony hosting gig, which is great for a night, but not for a run. I mean, I'm going to dance in the show. You're going to dance in the show. I said, I'm going to dance Jerome Robbins material. So I kept turning down the audition, and finally I owed Manny a favor, and he said, the Jerry Robbins, and you have to audition for him. You don't have to do the show if it doesn't work out for you, but you have to go. Went down to the Michael Bennett Studios, and I was introduced to Jerry, and his mouth was, why the F of my having so much trouble getting you to audition for my show. Thing out of my mouth was, well, sir, with all due respect, I don't want to be in your show. I was crazy. And I said, no, don't misunderstand. I will be the first kid. It's going to be amazing. But I can't dance. I can't dance your. Manny keeps telling me you want a narrator, and that just doesn't seem very interesting to me. And, anything I can do for you. And he kind of looked at me and he said, well, have you prepared material? Do you know material? I said, yes. I was born in 1959. I'm Jewish, and it's the only reason my parents let me go into show business. And I went over and I sang Sunrise Sunset. And when I finished, a little tear coming down. And I guess he sent me off, and somebody taught me a little bit of the soft shoe of Jealous, which I came back and, bungled. He was very sweet. He said, look, I'd love you to do this. I hear what you're saying, and you'll write, you'll work, and you'll write. Help me figure out what the show is narratively part, and I don't care what your contract says. You get me to opening night, and you're not let you go after opening night. And I went, I also knew I wanted to be worse things than sitting at the heels of probably the best musical theater director in my months and picking up some tips. So I took the gig thinking it would do absolutely nothing for my be a learning experience. Right. And then I had the amazing experience with all these guys, people that I got to meet as a result of that. By the way, the best mind-boggling talented ensemble in the history of the American theater, that company belonged so beautifully, and it was such a joy to be with them. And then all the good things, because Robbins gave me that spotlight. But I'm doubting that it was going to be anything that I could make useful in my life.
No, it could have been like in 1944, Jerome Robbins choreographed on the town.
Right, that's what I thought it was going to be. And then I wrote, and then I had no idea.
Right. P.S. We basically understood you, but your Wi-Fi is weird. Can you refresh the page once, Jason? Because you were coming in and out. That's right. So I'm going to let you go in a second. Yes. All right. Borstel.
Yes.
How'd you get the gig, Mr. Replacement Swing?
Oh my God. Jerry Mitchell gave me my career. Hasn't called me since. No. I knew Jerry Mitchell before he was Jerry Mitchell. And thank God I was doing a show with the New York City Opera. I was in Pajama Game because back then they would do full-length musicals. And of course I was doing the Steam Heat number. It was a LaFosse show, so I was so green. I didn't know what pre-production meant and that. What's that? I'm from Long Island. Took the train and audition, got the show. Jerry Mitchell happened to be in the audience. And he came up to me and he says, I want you to audition for Jerome Robbins Broadway. It's a cast of 60. We need dancers to help out. We need additional dancers to learn people's tracks, people's shows. And I'd like you to audition. So I said, absolutely. And how great. And thank you. Very green, didn't have a picture, resume, didn't think this was going to be a career. I was just going to do Pajama Game. That was it. Then I was going to go back to Long Island and, I don't know, just hang out with my buddies. So, but Jerome Robbins, Bob Fosse, and Ann Ranking, that was it for me. My whole life growing up. And now Jerry was adding the name Jerome Robbins. So I went to the audition and there was one guy there, just one other guy. And I said, this is great. This is how it works? Just me and him? This is wonderful. You know, and then he was from the Joffrey Ballet, and I went, Mr. Robbins, and I went and I would see his ballets at City Opera. So I was concerned, but Cynthia Rubio was so great with me. I just adored her, and I got to do character stuff and dance around. And long story longer, thank you very much. I'm back in Long Island mowing my lawn at my parents' house. And back then we had the rotary phones, and I heard the phone ring, and my dad answered it. He opened the door and he called out to me. He said, Jim boy, Broadway's calling. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. So I couldn't believe it. I ran. I talked to, I don't know who it was. You know, I talked to him on the phone, and I said something really corny, but I didn't know any better. And I spoke from the heart, and I said, I will work so hard for anything you want me to do, anything. This is unbelievable. Thank you. I think I ended up tying Mark Bovey for getting the most letters that Beverly Randolph would write for people who were acting up or late or whatever she wrote those letters for. I got many of them, but that's how it started. So, Jerry Mitchell, thank you.
Jerry, you got everybody the gig. Great story.
Well,
All right,
as we moved on with the process, Jerry would give Cynthia and I were the two assistants who kind of ran the gambit from the beginning to the end. There were others who came and went. Victor was there and George Russell, both gone now, God bless them. But Cynthia and I started in the beginning and left at the very end. And he sent us on the adventures to find dancers to fill the holes. I brought Sergio Trujillo and Nancy Tickerton back from LA with Cynthia. We went to LA, auditioned hundreds of dancers, brought two back, Nancy Tickerton and Sergio Trujillo, and he hired them on the spot as soon as he saw them.
But Jerry, you know, when you look at a bunch of dancers, to most people, everyone looks amazing. Like, how did you know that like Nancy had it? Like, what's making them stand out more? Because I love Nancy and I love Sergio, but how did you know that they had more than other people?
If I would divide Cynthia and Ruby and myself as a team for working for Jerry Robbins, Cynthia was making sure they had the technique to carry out all the dancing, and I was looking for the actor. Because Jerry didn't like dancers who didn't act. He needed actors in his pieces. And I was looking for the actor who could dance.
So interesting. We know you had this clip of Jerry doing, I guess it's the, where they're giving him a rose. They're giving, what is it? It's a $1 billion baby, right? And
my dreams come true.
My God, his physicality to express acting is unbelievable. Everyone watch how brilliant this is. Oh wait, I want to make sure that's the right clip. Hold on. It may be the right clip, or maybe Scott Frankel looking like Bette Midler. Hold on a second. It'll come up in a second. David's gonna load it. That was Scott Frankel as Bette Midler. Ignore that. I don't know. Not since Peaches. Okay, so Scott, let me go back to you, Scott Wise. Can you talk about? You told me that story when we had a West Side Story reunion with Harvey Evans and everybody. You told me about how Jerry Robbins was sassing you as Riff and how long it took you to figure out who the hell Riff was.
Oh, that was hellish.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think I got past da 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 da. And he would yell at me. I mean, it was literally da 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 da. Stop.
What are you doing?
Da 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 da. Stop. And da 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 da. Stop. So basically, I don't think I got past even looking or snapping my fingers before Jerry was yelling at me. And I mean, it really ended up being just for the first month, the first whatever, it was a real, just, I would go home crying. It was awful. Just like, and he would take me aside. And actually, it was interesting. He did understand I was kind of overwhelmed working with Jerry Robbins. And he would go, look, you got to stop worrying about who I am, which was kind of a very important thing to say, because I was totally, everything he said, I would like jump and like, because I wanted to do everything he wanted. And he keeps giving me these acting notes. You're on a street. You're the boss. You're the head of this gang. And you're on a New York street. You got to imagine all this. And I couldn't. Day after day, he'd put me in a room with Grover Dale and just try to work with me. And it was just awful. So finally, one day, I think it was right about near the time that we were having our first run through with the gang. Everyone was coming in, Lenny, everybody. I was like, I'm on pins and needles. And finally, I came up with an idea myself of like, what makes me feel like I'm the boss? What makes me feel like I am a leader? What makes me feel like that? And I had to come up with something that would make me be like Rip. And the only thing I came up with, and it worked, was because I had grown up at 890 Studios in New York. It was like my 5th show rehearsing at 890. And it was like a place that I felt very powerful and being on stage. So instead of imagining I was on a street in New York, which I'm from Idaho. What do I know of streets of New York and gangs of New York? So, but the stage I knew, I'd been on a stage since I was 4. So I was like, this is where I feel powerful. And so honestly, I just had to be in the room and take in the room. And it was like, then he came up to me and goes, that was it. Wow. And like from then on, I mean, he'd yelled at me. This is the first time and from then on, he never questioned anything I did. Or, he was always extremely kind and very much just give me a note and then walk away. I was like, that was it? After all those months of like crying and tearing my head, I just had to go, this is my room. This is my people. Wow. This is what I'm doing. Did it. And that was fine from then on. But it was kind of god awful for the first month. He almost fired me. He actually, I think, either Cynthia or someone said the first couple of months or the first month, I think he was going to get rid of me. Probably hire Scott Plank.
Hey, the first month, he was going to get rid of every single person in the room. Oh. Every single person in the room, he went through a falling in love and a falling out of love with. Every person in the room.
Yeah.
That was his way.
I love that story, though, because sometimes there are those directors that were like, that was it, and you haven't done anything different. So I love that you actually did do something different, and he noticed it.
Yeah. It was small, but it meant so. I honestly, it's kind of funny. When I did it, I went, you know what? This is what he wants. And oddly, it was about just relaxing and being me, which I'm sure all of you great actors out there, you understand that's really what it's all about, is just being you up there and really kind of owning that moment as being yourself. And the minute I stopped trying to be something, it like all fell together and it just all started happening. And knock wood, it did happen.
Jerry, I have a question. So if everyone was basically on the chopping block, let's say, or their job was possibly in danger, how would you react? Because you obviously knew how Jerome Robbins was feeling about everyone. What would you say?
Well, I wouldn't to the actors. I never said anything.
No, to him.
I say let's work on it tomorrow. Let's do it again tomorrow. He Well, Jason will probably be able to talk a little bit more about this than even I was, because I wasn't performing in it. I was his assistant. But he did listen to me. And I think and I didn't know this at the time. I really didn't. I didn't stop myself from saying what I thought. I didn't think anything. I just blurted out. And I think he loved that about me, because I was truthful. I can tell you about the Dreams Come True thing, the Dream Comes True ballet. I begged him to keep that in the show, because I had never seen a ballet where it was all based on actor-driven character movement that created a dance. And we taped every single piece of footage from every show, every rehearsal, and it's all in the archives at the Lincoln Center. And I begged him to put that in, because that, being able to choreograph a number based on character moves as opposed to choreography moves, I thought was such a brilliant thing. And Charlie Blackwell, remember Charlie Blackwell, our amazing manager?
Yeah.
Jerry loved dogs. Jerry loved dogs. I had a golden retriever. I brought my golden to rehearsal. We were working on the Dreams Come True ballet. The dog was under the desk. I was taking the poison cup and swallowing it and dying. And Jerry saw me and he said, stop. And he said, you can't do that. If you die like that, it will take me 6 months to teach an actor how to do it right. You have to be committed to dying. And then he looked at me completely straight-faced and said, give me that. And grabbed the imaginary cup out of my hands. I didn't have a cup. It was imaginary. He said, give me that. Play the music. And then he drank the thing and did the Raymond Navarro death scene. And my dog under the table went, I said, he even convinced my fucking dog. That's how committed he was to teach me.
Wow.
He would actually play the part and show every one of these guys exactly what he wanted them to do.
Oh, okay. Well, look, here's that clip I was looking for.
is.
That's an amazing story. Here he is.
You think he's gay?
Is that Greg and Debbie?
Debbie.
It was
Debbie.
yeah. He kept recasting parts. He had Charlotte did it, and he had tried Debbie, and he would just throw another actor in and just say, "Here, you do it."
That was the hard part about it.
Faith in it too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone, that's what's so nerve-wracking. Who would tell me that? Joanne said that, and Marianne Lamb, that you'd be watching rehearsal and suddenly go like, you two, go do it. And like, you hadn't even rehearsed it. You had to just be watching and just know that at any moment you could take over someone else's part.
Well, he ran the show like a ballet company, not like you didn't get a contract for a part. You got a contract to be in the show. So in a ballet company, everybody's supposed to know everything somehow. And he forgot that. His last time on Broadway was 40 years before this. So he was running it like a ballet company. I mean, we actually took ballet class. I think Jason was taking ballet class. Tom, Jerry was teaching ballet in one room. They were called the Moo Cows, and we were teaching ballet in the one room, the Beefs or whatever. Yeah, but it was, he didn't know, and he was nervous. And the thing is, you'll come back to, Jerry was, overwhelmed by the experience, and anyone that stood up to him, that talked back to him, that's when you finally got his respect. That story is always true. It comes back over and over again. Faith Prince, the day Faith Prince stood up to him was the day that he respected her. And it's true with me too.
Jason Alexander, do you remember we had to have a meeting with Jerry Robbins with the Equity deputies and representatives from Equity, because Jerry had not been in the theater doing a show for 40 years. I think it was sometime in the 60s was Fiddler, right? And this was like 40 years, however many years later. He didn't know about 10-minute breaks.
Right.
And we had to explain to him that you must give the actors a 5-minute break after every hour and a 10-minute break after every hour and 20 minutes. And he evolved. He just wasn't used to the equity system.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he wouldn't break
all
us.
that in that production. And somehow I think out of the room when we got elected to be the deputies for this production. There were so many behind the scenes run-ins between Debbie or myself that we thank God some of the things he could not bring him to wrap his mind around would have been such giant clusterfucks. Stumble through.
Jason, how hard was it? How hard was it, Jason, for you to learn that soft shoe with Faith? It's really specific. I mean, like, you guys were amazing in it. Was that a nightmare for you, or was it fun?
Let me just say, and I'm sure Tom will back me up on this. Every day started with there were about 8 of us or 10 of us that were really not dancers. We were actors first. And there was the great Jerry Mitchell, whose job was to make it so that when we stood on the else, we didn't look like another species. That was basically his job. And he Jerry and Cynthia, I think I can't remember, Jerry, if it was you or Cynthia who is of the soft shoe. And then Jerry would come in and he would direct it. He would really it, and he talked to us as actors. I had enough tap background that the moves didn't. Scariest thing, and I think Faith would agree, the scariest thing I've ever done in my career was Jerry Robbins said, "Come on, we're going to show it to everybody else." And he interrupted whatever rehearsal was going on and brought me to it for our company for the first time. And I swear to you, I can't dance in front of these people. This is not right. And Faith and I were so verklempt, and we finished the number. And this is what I mean. Company, the love and the applause and the excitement that the two of us, because I think they knew that we were just mortified and scared to death, was the linchpin in what made that show possible. Because to do, if you have that many people with that much talent, because nobody's being treated beautifully and everybody's job is on the line every day, can't love each other, you are not going to get a show. And it is amazing to me that company was the greatest single ensemble I have ever been part of in my life. And it's why when I look at this screen, I just am so thrilled to see these faces. It was magical.
That's so sweet. Here's your brilliance. Take a gander. Look at the line. The line's amazing. Wait, what's going on? Hold on.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Oh,
And here it is in my program.
So, I just want to say that finding that number was an endless sort of a journey. Nanette Fabray, who had originally done it, found an old kinescope in her attic, and she had just enough footage in that kinescope that it could, once Cynthia and I got it back on its feet, it triggered Jerry's mind, and that was how the number was brought back to life because of that. We tried everything we could to jigger his mind and jigger her mind, and then she found that thing in the attic, and that's how we got the number. And the number to me, Jason and Faith, was so special. It was what led me to do the number Timeless to Me for Edna and Wilbur in Hairspray. It's the same number.
Oh, I love that.
Wow.
Just passing it down. Oh, that's so sweet. Can we discuss the night of the Tony Awards? Like Scott, Kubala, and LaFosse. Were you guys nervous having to dance that shiz?
It was fast. It was the fastest we'd ever done Dance at the Gym.
Wow, really?
Exhausting.
Oh, it was so fast. I had that day was wild for me because I had the matinee was the final performance of Patricia McBride, which I had to do 2 ballets, and then so we had to rehearse in the morning for the Tonys. I ran over to the State Theater and did the final performance of Patty McBride, and then I got in the car and went back to the theater and did Dance at the Gym, and then lost the Tony to Jason. That was my day.
sorry, Robbie. I'm sorry. You deserved it. You deserved it.
That's so sweet. I have clips. We have Charlotte in the dark wig and Scott doing a sassafras. Here's the beginning of it. It's so crazy. Now this is really Peter Gennaro's choreography, right? Or is it's half and half? Jerry and Peter? What is it?
Half and half.
Dance at the Gym is it's not half and half, is it?
I think Peter did the Sharks and Jerry did the Jets.
Okay.
Let's take a gander.
It's so good.
Oh my God.
The best part was coming up.
I'm going to show that separately.
I would sneak out every night because I was not in that whole section of the first act, and I could get to the back of the house. And I watched that whole West Side Story section so many times, cried every time.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Absolutely.
Scotty,
Stand
did
in
you
the
have those?
wing. Stand.
Of course, Scotty. Did you add those flips? I can't imagine the original riff doing that.
Actually, it was supposed to actually be a side somersault because Russ Tamlin, when he did the movie, he wasn't a dancer. Actually, I mean, he really started out as more of an acrobat. And if you notice, anytime you're weaving in and out, if you watch the movie, it's always he'll be dancing in, and then he fades out under the camera, and then the dancers take over, and then he fades back in at the end or does a trick back in. But he was more of an acrobat. He was a really great acrobat. And he does a beautiful side summy, which I tried to do and almost killed myself. But I think he just wanted to keep the acro in for whatever. But
do it, Scott. Do it now. Do the flip.
Honestly, I have to just watching that video. I remember that people forget, I mean, who are watching, don't understand that we're still doing the show. They don't like stop the show just so we can go do this other show over here. And I remember being so tired from the earth. And if you notice my legs on that, go Mambo, my legs as I'm going off are like wobbling off, and I could barely get off stage. I remember literally like tunneling at one point, and it just kind of going, ooh. So the whole evening was kind of a bit of a blur because I just remember being so freaking tired. I could barely get on and off the stage, but it was so great.
Scott, had you won the Tony before you danced that or after?
No. Matter of fact, I hadn't won it yet, and so I had to. I was in the back alley afterwards, pacing around, and everyone was gone. I'm just like, well, this is flat. This is star-studded. I'm in an alley waiting here in a dirty brick alley. I'm like, okay, I'll wait here. And then, then it was, next thing I know, was the whole evening came up. So it was kind of a blur of an evening. So, but I just remember being very tired. Never seen life.
I want to show your Tony Maria. Do you remember any kind of direction before I show it that Jerry Robbins gave you for the Tony Maria dance?
Me?
I'm sorry.
No, Robbie. When your pas de deux, do you remember any kind of direction Robbins gave you for the pas de deux?
Well, that pas de deux was not in the original show. It's kind of a replacement for that little scene that they do. But it was all about wanting to kiss somebody and knowing that it's like the body's coming together and going away, sort of like you're not doing it. So it had this sort of lyrical quality to it that was what I think is the greatest moment in theater is that moment where we're walking together and there's this madness. It has sort of like this cinematic effect on in the theater. And I think it's one of the greatest choreographic moments. And what happens is we become like in a dream. So I think what he wanted it to be not real, sort of like all of West Side Story. It's sort of an abstraction of Romeo and Juliet. But that's kind of the main focus is what he wanted. I mean, he wanted ballet dancers, clearly.
It's so romantic. Let's take a gander.
So simple, right?
Beautiful.
So there's very little in there, and yet it's so powerful. I think a choreographer today would try to fill it up with lots of steps, and he was the master of that.
Less is more.
Yeah.
But it was also it's a real testament to both Robbie and Robbie. Neither of you were trained as actors, and there's not a lot of acting. And when I say that I truly thought that year, I said it's the year of the dance, because that's what that show celebrated. I was never more, and I will stand behind you and say you had the perform. Beautiful.
Oh, you're so sweet. The thing is that I grew up doing musical theater. The first show I did was Gypsy, so I had a connection to Jerome Robbins. I was a newspaper boy. I did Peter Pan after that. I did Roar the Grease Paint, Smell of the Crowd. I did Tom Sawyer, and so my trajectory was to be on Broadway. But then I got a job at American Ballet Theater by accident.
Wow.
Some accident.
Do.
Yeah, you just fell into being a ballet star.
But I got my dream. My dream came true twice. Fosse and Robbins. It was.
My God, who are the three, Jason? Who are the three boys that you did Form with? Is that Kubala? Who are the three?
Michael, you,
myself,
Scott,
and Joey
McNeely.
It's
Joey
so
McNeely.
a lot of these old things that are supposed to be funny are not really funny, like 30 years later. But Comedy Tonight was hilarious. Was it the same bits that was done in the 60s, or did you make up new ones?
You guys came up with stuff.
I basically went crazy. Jerry put me up there, and I had to find. He would say, "Find it," and I was like neurotic, trying to find what to do. I tried 15 different things. I went to F.A.O. Schwartz and bought a doll and brought it in. I would try, and he'd go, "No." And finally I came up with shoes on my feet and went la la la, and he loved that, and it stuck. But it was like, and he was ruthless. I was gonna say, I told this story at the Guggenheim, which a lot of the cast didn't know. After I did that particular part, we were doing a technical rehearsal, and I had to jump off of that platform to do the three-legged cross in a matter of seconds, and it was literally a 10-foot drop or an 8-foot drop. And we were doing the technical rehearsal, and we started, and I couldn't get down in time because they were closing the curtains, and he went on the mic speaker, "Kubala, can you get this? Can you do this? If not, I'll give it to somebody else."
Oh.
And I literally went to the stagehand. I went, "Look," I said, "as soon as I go close," I said, "clear," because I'm going to jump and grab that leg and get there. And every night for 2 years, I had to jump backwards off of that platform to make the next entrance in a matter of a couple seconds.
God, you're also driven. Well, here's what I'm talking about. This is just so great.
Something familiar, something peculiar, something for everyone at comedy tonight. Something appealing, something appalling, something for everyone at comedy tonight. Nothing with kings, nothing with crowns. Bring on the lovers, liars, and clowns. Old situations, new complications. Nothing for tempters or polite. Tragedy tomorrow, comedy tonight. Something familiar, something peculiar, something for everyone at comedy tonight. Something appealing, something appalling, something for everyone. Saturday tomorrow, comedy tonight.
So great. Okay, so Borsty, you got to tell my favorite swing story that I tell everybody.
Nightmare. Are you talking about when I was on for a shark?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, listen, I was hired with Mark Hovey, my best buddy, who helped teach me the ropes. But as often as you go on for these different tracks that people have, you never really own them ever. So you don't necessarily know every little detail that they need to know as far as entrances, choreography, props, costume changes, traffic. So I'm on for probably James Rivera. Maybe James was, in a little pain or something, wasn't there. But I come out, the wings. We're doing the prologue of West Side Story, and I'm, one of my favorite parts is to do the sharks, and I come busting out of wing 1, trying to taunt the jets to chase me, and I'm like, mira, just really getting into it, and your adrenaline's going, and I turn to run back into the wing, and I hit the portal. Now, a portal, for the viewers who don't know, they're these metal construction flats that separate each sort of wing, and they don't move. They are solid. And I'm, doing this here, come and chase me. And I go like this, and boom, I hit that portal. And there was a line from my face. My tooth came out my lip and stuck into that portal. The tooth was in the wood, and I had no tooth, and I had, eventually the hematoma on the left leg. Perfect line. And Beverly Randolph's in the wings, and I'm bleeding, and I'm just, and I swing. I'm not gonna stop, because a lot of people don't know you could lose an arm, but when you're in the moment, it's Dr. Theater. You don't feel any pain. You don't feel any pain. And I'm like, let me out there. Let me out there. I got other stuff I got to do. They're counting on me. She looked at me, no tooth, the split lip. She told her assistant, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him to the emergency room. The problem was, because I wasn't able to go back on, Joey McNeely, whose baby John is about to get his ear pierced by the sharks, and Joey McNeely, he does this big, beautiful leap into the crowd of sharks to be caught, but this shark wasn't there upper left to catch him, so Joey hits his head on the stage. He splits his head open, the blood splurts, and Joey was in carry, so he used it, and he, there's blood everywhere. There's blood from me, and really, so that was horrifying. And we ended up sharing a cab to the emergency room, Joey and I, and Christoph Caballero, actually pulled my tooth out. It probably fell off the portal onto the stage, and he went to Beverly. Here's Jimmy Borskelman's tooth. And so, thank you, Christoph. And but they gave me a new tooth eventually, but for probably 2 weeks before they could check, if the insurance approved, I basically walked around the theater with the missing tooth, and finally Faith Prince went, when the hell is Jimmy getting a new tooth? He looks like Quasimodo. And, I was very green, and I just wanted to think I fit in. But that's the story. I mean,
wait, Jimmy.
What?
Tell when someone heard that person in intermission about the Rumble.
Right. So I'm with Joey. I'm in the hospital. I come back, and one of the cast members, I don't know who it was, came up to me and said, Jimmy, when we went to meet, we did the meet and greet at the stage door to sign autographs, sign the playbills. This woman said to me, okay, is the West Side Story prologue, is it always that bloody and graphic like that. When I just saw the blood on the shirts and the faces, is it always like that every night? Because in the film, they didn't have the blood. And so, listen, he says, you came at a special night. You never know, it's live theater. And he says, no, it's not usually like that. And he explains what happened. So she will always remember that performance. I'll always remember it because they told me to massage my lip. And I've been doing it for 30 years because there's always this little pea in there. And I'm trying to get it down. So this tooth is fake. I wish I had a James Scott Wise tooth because his comes out.
There it is.
And,
Don't do it.
Scott knows. I don't care. He's my favorite human. He knows that. I love that his name is James. But he also does the bird whistle. So I wish that's the tooth I got, Scott. But I didn't get that.
Okay.
For anyone who thinks that Borselman is exaggerating, we have video proof.
What?
When did this happen, Jim? Shit. When did this happen?
Monday night in the show, Jerome Robbins Broadway. I was a shark and I was getting chased by a jet. I ran right into the portal, which is a flat piece of wood that outlines the entire stage.
What were you drinking?
Broadway call. I thought you meant
You're on painkillers.
Hey.
I thought you meant you had footage of the actual.
No, ma'am.
But below my bottom lip, I loved that big, bottom lip it gave me. I always wanted a bigger bottom lip, and so I look fabulous in that show.
It reminds. Does everybody remember when we started West Side Story when Jerry came in all hyped up and he tripped and fell and broke his wrist?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
From that day on, he was a little more chilled because he was so ramped up.
Yeah.
And so I think they put him on a little painkiller, so he's a little calmed down for a week or so. We got lucky.
Right, really.
West Side Story was very injurious to Jerome Robbins throughout its history. He had to be careful around it. The Sharks and the Jets with Jerry.
Yeah.
There's so many luminaries that came. I found this shot of Bernstein and Scott Frankel.
Yeah.
And then Jerry Mitchell sent this clip of Nancy Walker lip syncing to herself, trying to remember her original choreography for You Got.
Wow.
And then, of course,
Thompson Green, by the way.
That was the original cast.
Lily original cast.
Jerry had all the originals come back for almost every number if they were still alive, try and get them to help him spur on his memory. And it was all on videotape. And so when the show opened, he gave me a CD, a burned CD of all of the numbers in pre-production that I was working on with all of those celebrities. I have a CD of it.
And then it just translated, and then Debbie got to recreate. Wasn't she great?
Beautiful.
Tony Award. Tony Award.
I think you're talking about this Tony Award winner.
Surprise!
Surprise! Oh my God.
Another one.
My heart can't stand seeing you all. Oh my God. I love you all so much.
I love you too.
Love you.
Debala.
Jerry loved Debbie so much.
Yeah.
They loved
She was not on the chopping block like everybody else.
No. He loved her.
That's nice to know.
Debbie, did you ever? He made them do gimmick every night before he went home. He loved those girls.
To hear you sing. Oh my gosh.
We were all on the chopping block, as we all knew.
So two things I want to say. First of all, I was taking dance back in the 80s, and at Phil Black. I'm not going to say I'm devastated that I didn't make Jerome Robbins Broadway. I didn't really get to audition, I guess. But I really had my 80 moves down. There was one particular move I loved. It was a pull back, but it was you did your head with it, which made it extra cool. So I thought maybe if Jerome Robbins is revived, I could give a little audition. I had my purple plastic jazz pants, my white Capizio shoes because it made my line better. This is 1984.
Now that's Pam Kaplan on the left. Now someone on the right is about to do an amazing layout. Seth Rudetsky. Now, do you see the leg warmers? White Capizio shoes. Now, most amazing step in the world. Down, to the side, up, and pull back. Work! All right.
I was exhausted, Scott.
I have something to share with the people who will know, and I'd like to share it right now. The photo behind me. Can you see that?
I see a ring light.
Your ring light is
Your light is
dominating.
It's a beef.
Cow.
It's a
Andy
beef.
Warhol's cow.
Oh, the beefs.
Oh,
beef.
Andy Warhol beefs.
And then that's our record. That's the record album. That we have.
What an amazing time. How big was that damn cast? Was it like 50 people or something?
60.
More.
60.
50.
Yeah, 66.
It grew. It grew.
Jason, you remember this?
Hold it up a little. Oh yeah, sure, Mike.
And 6 months. We haven't mentioned it was 6 months of rehearsal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think
We rehearsed whole numbers that were then discarded.
Yeah.
And like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
But
I say I clearly remember that one day when was it Michael Lynch? Is it Michael Lynch?
Michael Lynch, yeah.
We were working on Fiddler, and we were doing the whole thing, and we could never figure out, and Michael couldn't figure out why he was there. And Michael was like one of those.
He was playing the Russian. Yeah, he was playing the Russian.
Much. He was always kind of in the back, and then we're sitting there doing, and all of a sudden he comes in with this voice and sings and the whole room just went, oh, that's why you're here. And he just like stopped the rehearsal with his gorgeous sailing voice. And it was just, it was a shame that that was cut just to see her hit that one gorgeous note and sing beautifully.
Scotty, you remember the one time we had to go put on the cow suit? Jerry said, Michael, Scott, go in the next room. It was the middle of summer. The cow suit was so hot. We worked, go work on some stuff. So Scott and I went, Scott, I said, I'm taller. I'm the front, you're the rear, you're the ass. Yeah. So we worked for 2 hours in this cow suit, coming up with some butterflies and things. And Jerry comes in and goes, so what do you got? We start demonstrating and showing him everything. He goes, that's good. Now try this. All the original choreography back to what he had done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the number was cut.
And then it was cut.
A year of that. It was fun.
But Tommy, you get your character track.
Oh, that's Canson, boy.
The best
That is-
number of the show.
One of the greatest numbers ever. One of the greatest.
I watched it every night. It's the best number.
Oh,
I
that-
wish
that-
I thought Paul was going to be on because one of the funniest things that happened, and I really wanted to rag him on this, is before my entrance as Uncle Willie, they would do the Twins, and it was really slow. And on Saturday night, because we were all tired, Paul would be conducting in the pit, and he'd look over at me, and he'd go, and then I'd start, and he'd double up the tempo, and I'd come on stage, and I would just like sweat trying to do the choreography that fast. And he would do it every Saturday night.
So rude. So speaking of rude, Jason Alexander, 2 things before we go. Jason, would you talk about the time you came back to play the role and then you ran into those neighbors?
It's the story of humility and how it must always be maintained. So I did the show, I got the Tony, and then I only stayed in the show, I think, another 4 weeks. And Tom, I don't know what was going on with you, but who was my? It wasn't Tony. Was not my first replacement.
Terry Mann.
Terry Mann took it for like 3 months.
Out of the show for maybe 3 weeks. Terry couldn't do the show. Tom, for some reason, you couldn't do the show.
I think I was gone, and I was doing Three Penny Opera.
Okay. And I guess the new cover wasn't ready. So I got this frantic call from the producer going, can you come back and just do 4 performances, just get us through the week? And I said, I don't know if I remember the show because I learn fast, but I forget faster. But I came back and I hustled to get the dances back in the thing and to get the costumes. And I go into the show and I go, and people make the announcement, ladies and gentlemen, so-and-so's not going to be Terry Mann's not going to be here. Oh, but Tony Award winner Jason Alexander, yeah. And I go, oh, okay, this is pretty nice. I finished the show on Friday night and I go to my in-laws' apartment to pick up my wife. And my in-laws live on the 3rd floor of this building on the east side. So I decided I'll get upstairs. Now, this is only important because you will see that if I am 3 seconds later or earlier, what happens does not happen to me. It had to be timed perfectly. So I go into the building, I go up the stairs to my in-laws' apartment door, as their neighbors across the hall are going into their apartment door, just with enough time for me to be able to hear, yeah, he was pretty good, but frankly, I would have preferred to see Terry Mann. God has delivered me to this place at this moment to go, you're not all that. And I thought,
wow.
Wow.
Sorry, Jason.
Ow.
All right, Debbie Shapiro has a treat for us. Debbie Shapiro, would you like to serenade your fellow cast members?
I am so nervous. I've sung this song for 170 years now, and I'm more nervous than I've ever been to sing it. Just would like to say that because of all of you guys. And you guys too. Okay, here we go. I bet you know what this is. Playing on his slide trombone in a certain monotone, he was known as Mr. Monotony. Any quiet interlude that would bring a change of tune didn't go with Mr. Monotony. Sometimes he would change the key, but the same dull melody would emerge from Mr. Monotony. Folks for miles would run away, only one preferred to stay. She would come around and say, have you got any monotony today? They were married, but we find that she quickly changed her mind. She grew tired of Mr. Monotony. Round the neighbors it was known, while he played on his trombone, someone played with Mrs. Monotony. From another village came a snappy clarinet. She heard him playing, strange to say she liked him better. 'Twas the end of Mr. Monotony. There's a moral to my song. Trombone players don't last long. And it's right to do them wrong when they've only got monotony to play. And it's not any monotony that's gay. Don't stay. Just say, haven't got any monotony today.
Bravo, bravo.
Yeah.
That's why you wore black.
That's it.
Debbie, you sound amazing, love. You sound like you did 30 years ago. It's insane.
It's amazing.
Same key. Same key.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was all Seth's accompaniment.
It was original key. I was so excited. I was waiting for Debbie to write and say a third down. All original key. I was very
Debbie, he was so excited. He practiced and played it for about 30 minutes before sending it to you.
so nervous.
And he never does that.
It was a lot. It was a lot, dear. You guys, this is so fun.
Thank you so much for coming.
Did we raise
on.
any money?
We did, but sometimes people, the problem is people donate and then they don't forward the donations. So we can see that we're getting donations, but they're not forwarding with messages. So basically, they're not forwarded. So the good news is we've gotten, but no one wrote any fun messages. So I think when it's a show like this with so many video clips, people don't want to take the time to write, tell the whole cast we say hi, because they're busy obsessing. So thank you guys. The clips were amazing that I found. Jerry, that Nancy Walker clip was amazing. Oh my God, Jim Borselman, your lower lip clip. Not since Susan Lucci. Not just saying. All right, see our whole audience tomorrow for my birthday show.
Yes, Seth
thank
does
you.
not know who is coming on, but stay tuned. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
You guys are so talented, such incredible talent. Thank you all.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Love you so
Bye,
much.
everyone.
Thank
Happy
you.
anniversary.
Bye, Tom. Bye, Scott.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you
Bye.
guys.
Bye. Love you so much.